I am just introducing aspects from what I've learned from entertainment into these new worlds. And I'm finding that this new world, more commercial world, they have an appetite for that because I don't think they've ever been spoken to from a design team with this perspective. So, like I did a workshop with them. I went through a meditation with them, like a visualization meditation. We really took our time to set the tone, and we did like an emotional blueprinting. And I'm in the process of essentially creating a script for like, what is the intention? What are the zones? And then that's going to be directly fed to the architects and then have them make their design decisions.
Welcome to the HAUS podcast, your go-to space where design, cognitive sciences, well-being, and business come together. I'm your host, Monica Costa, and today you're tuning into an expert conversation where we talk with brilliant minds from around the world to explore the ideas, research, and experiences shaping the future of design and human well-being. Today I'm joined by Ariel Ruiz, founder of Creative Vortex and Experiential Creative Director. Ariel transitioned from designing rides for the world's largest theme parks to exploring how design intersects with psychology, storytelling, and even sensory intelligence. That journey redefined her approach and led her to become one of the most influential voices in neuro-informed design and the emotional and sensory dimensions of space. In this episode, she walks us through that journey, her challenges, what she learned along the way, and how she sees the future of design evolving thanks to people who sense there's more to design than what we've been told. This podcast is powered by HAUS, born from its mission to guide designers in creating spaces for well-being, grounded in cognitive sciences principles. Let's dive in. If you had to describe yourself, Ariel, without using any professional title, who are you at your core?
That's a great question. Who am I at my core without using a professional title? I would say I am this might sound contradictory, but I am a like peaceful, experimental, creative soul. Yes, I'm going to go with that as my answer. I like the root without any titles of like sister, whatever, girlfriend, dog mom, that type of stuff. It's like at my essence, I think those three really, that's me. Those three words right now, at least.
It's curious because you say three words, but actually you used four. But soul for you, I'm guessing it's like
the vessel.
The vessel, like right?
Yeah.
I love that.
That's interesting. Yeah.
Yes, because I also saw in your social media that you describe yourself as an experiential creative director.
Yes.
So what role does that feel like to you beyond the title when you merge it with what you just said, with the soul?
You're allowing me for my brain to really do some exercises right now. How does that relate to I don't know. So I'm on this journey of like about a year and a half ago, this like major career transition. And I'm really focusing on allowing my practice to be part of my work and allowing it to also be like a part of just like my authentic practice. So I'm trying to really figure out how to merge those two worlds, because before it was very much work and Ariel. And now I'm trying to figure out how to make them like cohesive and in the same space. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Okay. So I'm guessing that you're like merging in a way your soul with what you show out there.
Yes.
Right. Not only
I am. That's really beautiful. Thank you for that reflection.
Yeah. So it's like, so you're taking in a way your inner child or your teen inside you and just putting it out there to the world. But actually, talking about the inner child or you as a younger being, do you remember a space that actually emotionally marked you? Even if you didn't understand that at the moment, right?
Yeah.
But Do you have that in mind?
Yes, I do actually. And the first one, I'm just going to follow my intuition, and it's probably not what you're expecting. It was more,
It's fine.
I wouldn't say a negative experience. And I think it was the first time I was like kind of like tuned in energetically, and I was able to catch into like the energies of the space, but I didn't have a language around that. So let me paint the picture for you. So I think it was, this is my first remembering of a space and an experience. So I think I had to have been maybe third grade, second grade. And for some reason, we were like spending some time at like this old person's home. And I grew up in like a very small community, and we were like giving back time. And I remember as soon as I crossed the threshold, I was like, my body like tightened up, and I just got really like, I've always been a very sensitive child to my surroundings, but I just like, I couldn't go in through the doors, and I like freaked out, and I was like, I'm so like, I couldn't go into the convalescent home. Um, and now looking back, it's probably like, oh, I was probably tuned in to the energies of like people probably pass away at this house, and I didn't know how to really navigate that. So that's my lens now looking back. But at the time, I grew up in like a traditional like Catholic household where we didn't really talk about intuition or spirits or any of that stuff. So I had that one experience. I know you're probably thinking more like design related, but that's one of the
Oh,
first experiences or memories that I have with the space where like my body tuned in, but I didn't have the language at the time to like recognize what was happening.
yeah. That's exactly what I was looking for. Because I wanted to know if there was like any personal or family story of your upbringing or anything from your past that actually awakened your sensitivity to the invisible side of design in a way.
Yeah, I
So,
don't know about like design, but like spaces and like the way it made me feel. Obviously, I think it was unconscious at the time. I didn't get really intentional about like, oh, there's a consciousness happening between the human and the environment and the building, and there's this dance that can happen. But yeah, I think a lot of it was unconscious for quite some time, but intuitive, intuitively unconscious for quite some time.
and then how did you come to understand that through space you can actually tap into consciousness or shaping biology or shifting your consciousness itself?
I think that's kind of like a two-part answer. I'm loving these questions, by the way. Thank you for the way that you're positioning them.
Lovely.
I think the main, it really clicked for me. I want to say closer to like about a year and a half ago when I really made this transition. But I think also intuitively, I've always been fascinated by like the magic that design can have on the person. I didn't have the terminology to say like, oh, we are altering consciousness through design over the last like 12 years, building my career in theme parks and like set design for TV and film and stuff. It's before the awakening. So I had my awakening in 2021 that really shifted my whole perspective. So prior to that, like 10 years prior to that, let's say, a lot of my design, I was very intrigued by, like I went to design school and art school and theater school to like study how to tell story through space essentially. And I remember like the thread has always been, I love how like there's so much power in design intention, right? Like you can literally, you alter the way people's emotions, memories, their experience, you get to guide which walls people look at, like you get to guide everything through design choices. And I was really attracted to like the magic behind that. And then it evolved naturally after the awakening, and uh, evolved, I don't want to say aggressively, but in full force. Like we are in full force of like, oh, there's actually this like invisible relationship with space and people and consciousness. And like now I'm really intentional about like how can we really focus on like the depths of design.
I see there's a shift that happened in 2021.
Yes.
I want to know about that shift. But before, maybe you want to give us some context of what was your situation before that and then what happened there? What was your awakening about?
Okay. Yeah. So before, I was very much in my masculine. I grew up in a very small town. I left right out of high school, moved to LA to go to a fancy design school and art school. And I was really like, I went to school to study set design for TV and film. That evolved into theater and then theme parks. I did the dance. I, went to the right events, met the right people, did the right things, got the right internship that turned into the right job. At the time, that was the dream, like to be able to design rides for theme parks. Very much in my masculine. And Yeah, even just like pictures, like I'm not like fully deflated, but like I was very like not swollen, I guess. Like there was a lot of inflammation in the body and all that
Yeah.
stuff. So very masculine driven, designing rides and parades for Disney and Universal prior to 2020, 2021. The awakening happening, honestly, that whole like year was a big blur. So I like say like 2020, 2021, the awakening happened. But yeah, so the awakening was initiated by a health problem. I have the language to put on it now, looking back, but essentially my body was just like so inflamed, and it was related to stress. I was unconscious of this at the time. I my hair started thinning drastically, and it really like freaked me out because I have another like egoic thing. I'm very attached to my curly hair, and like losing it really terrified me. So I was like, okay, I need to take a step back. And then I just started looking at like holistic modalities of healing. And then I just fell down the rabbit hole and had my awakening. And then I started learning about like Ayurveda and the power of the subconscious and quantum physics and like neuroscience and epigenetics and like meditation and astrology and numerology. And like that whole year I was just taking everything in. And I was doing an immense amount of healing and processing work. Like I released so much, like somatic work and shadow work and inner child. Like I've had a very scorpionic journey, I feel. Um,
Okay.
so it was like very much like healing intensive type of situation. And during the time I was like, I need to figure out how to step away from theme parks. One, after the awakening, I acknowledged that I am, how do I say this without like not sounding crazy? I just acknowledge, like I had a few experiences, out of body experiences through meditative practices that just really opened my eyes to a larger perspective of possibility around my creativity and my potential. And I found myself, even though the dream job was designing rides for theme parks, that no longer was the dream. Like I had opened up the ceiling to what was once the dream. And I'm like, now I am unlimited with my potential. And I was starting to get the inkling around 2021. I was like, I need to figure out how to step away.
I mean, I love it because I wanted to know what it actually means for you as a person, as a soul, to be able to discover yourself and just put yourself out there the way you want to put yourself out there after discovering what it is. Because usually people just don't notice that they're like in pilot, in this automatic pilot, you know, like just going through life without noticing they're sort of dead in the meanwhile.
Yeah.
So,
It's been a journey. So it is early 2025. I didn't start posting content till late 2024, and I had the awakening in 2021. So I really didn't figure out how to step away officially until end of 2023. And like the last, honestly, very scorpionic, the last 3, 4 years have not been enjoyable. Like it's been very medicinal. I chose to move back home because I was like, I have to figure this out. Like I just can't sit at a computer for 10 to 12 days, 10 to 12 hours a day working on projects that aren't allowing me to be creative, aren't allowing me to be expressive, aren't like in the bigger scheme of things. Yes, I think theme parks serve as a place for people to experience happiness at some capacity. But that's just not the vessel I want to put my creative energy towards anymore. I'm more interested, rather than like escapism, I'm more interested in like introspection, healing, community, experimental, communal spaces right now. But yeah, no, it's taken quite some time. Like I wish it was just like, oh, I just woke up, I did some shadow work, and then the next day I was able to post this content and like integrate. No, it took me like quite some time. I remember I like the beginning, it was like the teeniest bit of like a bit of a spiritual psychosis. I was like, what I was experiencing in the meditations, I was like, what did I just, like what I was experiencing was so cosmic and so multidimensional, and people don't have this language. And especially the circle that I was in didn't have that language. I was like, I'm going crazy.
before you entered this awakening, did you know about meditation? Did you used to meditate or
No,
anything?
no, I was like your average Joe. Like, I drank,
Really?
I smoked weed. Like, it was just like I went to art school. I was like, had no practice. I couldn't sit in stillness. Like, I was very much like, oh, meditation's just like not for me. It's not a thing. And like, it's just interesting how you're initiated into the practices. It's like my health and my hair was like, I don't know, maybe my soul team like knew like, okay, she's going to pay attention if her hair goes away. Like, this is how we have to get her. I don't know. Like that's what I imagine in my head. So it's just interesting. And then I just, it's hard to say. It's like I had a new lens. I was like, oh, dispensa. Then I just like took everything in and like I really sat for like months and months, just like in stillness. I remember there was a period where I was sitting in stillness for like 2 to 3 hours, just like that's when I was experiencing these like deep meditative experiences, out of body experiences. But prior, no, very in much masculine, egoic, covering emotions. No, it's very strange to look back. And it was all self initiated, kind of, which has been really interesting too. I didn't really have a community or one person to help really work through this. Very scorpionic.
How do you explain the term scorpionic to a person that has no idea about it?
Oh, okay. Okay, yeah. Scorpio is very much death and rebirth. It's just very much of like if you Google Scorpio, it's very much about like death and rebirth and like the phoenix. I just think it's manifested in my life. Like I've gone through these huge cycles. I just turned 30 a few months ago, and I've already gone through like three major cycles, like very death, rebirth, totally getting rid of this identity, like burn it to the ground, and then the phoenix. And you burn it to the ground, the phoenix. Hopefully, the next iterations, I don't have to burn everything to the ground because I have a bit more consciousness.
Yes. So when you say the next generations, you mean your kids, if you have any kids, or
No,
the
the
future.
next phase of my life, like it happens every
Okay.
like 7 to 12 years, where there's like this identity in my experience, where it's like
Okay.
this no longer serves me. We have to figure out the new identity type of situation.
Okay. Right now, you say that you are exploring design principles at a deeper octave, right?
Yes,
That's very powerful.
I'm glad it resonates. Thank you.
Yes. Actually, I bring this up because you're just mentioning that you've had about 3 awakenings in your life and you're about 30,
Yes.
or you're 30. So right now, this awakening is about exploring these principles, right? But have the past awakenings been related in some way with this, or have they been like totally different?
Totally different. And it's more of like a identity type of shift, if that makes sense. So like my first one, like I grew up playing softball. I was going to go to college playing softball. I got into like a major injury that cut off all my opportunities to go to the colleges I want to go to. I was introduced to the art school that I went to. And then that turned a whole new cycle of like, oh, okay, I'm going to be this like TV film person. Then that came
Mhm.
to a close. And then it was like, oh, the introduction of theme parks. And then most recently the awakening of like, oh, there's a opportunity with this larger consciousness, this different perspective to integrate spirituality, consciousness, design, and my interest.
But actually, in a way, they've been all like directing you towards this path.
Yeah. Yeah,
Not
absolutely.
necessarily related, but they've been guiding you towards it
Yeah.
in a way.
Yeah. I feel like I'm imagining like a washing machine. Like I just keep on getting thrown into a washing machine. Like, oh, she needs to go into another cycle. Let's go.
What are you discovering in this deeper octave of design?
Uh-huh.
And what's beyond that aesthetic layer that we all know?
So what am I discovering right now? A whole new world that I knew existed, but just being able to connect the dots has been really interesting. One, I didn't know there was areas of study. Like when I was doing my research in early 2024, when I initially got the invitation to explore these design principles at a deeper octave, like I came in across like neuroarchitecture, biogeometry, and I was like, oh, there are actually like areas of study where people have done immense amount of research to support XYZ design. And I thought that was really cool. And yeah, I'm just kind of really enjoying the unique explorations and the unique intersections of design because there's a lot of unseen energetics behind design that we generally don't talk about. I know for sure we never talked about spirituality, energetics at any of the art schools, the very expensive design schools that I went to. And it makes me really excited because I'm at this interesting point in my career where the content has taken off and that's opened up a lot of new opportunities for serving different areas that I've never thought about outside of entertainment. But then I'm also like, should I open up like an experimental creative school here? Like, no, like nobody's doing it the way that I'm kind of interested in it. So there's just like so much. And then I just like, yeah, going back to like, I don't really think there's limits to my potential. And it's really exciting right now.
Okay, so I'm guessing that you created Creative Vortex because of this.
Yeah. And you know what's interesting? So during my awakening in 2020, 2021, I started receiving massive downloads. The name Creative Vortex came through. And I was like, is this a school? Like, what is this? Like, so as you'll notice, like during my sabbatical about a year ago, towards the end, I started a podcast where I was trying to figure out how to put words to my experience. It's called Creative Vortex. But now, as we are in the present moment, it's like, oh, it's my studio name, obviously. So it's evolved. So, but yeah, it was actually like dropped
Yeah.
in quite a few years ago.
Okay, so professionally, right now, where are you standing? Because you mentioned that you've been to these very expensive universities and studied for TV and experiential design and doing all these things. Right now, where are you standing? Or better said, since I know that you're like actually currently going through or taking your time to actually align your paths with the opportunities that you've been attracting with this very sudden, in a way, response in social media, what do you believe is your next step?
Yes. So I am actively sitting and journaling and workshopping this. So, one more thing to add. Middle of last year, and I haven't posted this on social media yet because we're like 2 steps away from the official green light. But middle of last year, I proposed an immersive experience to a location that generally doesn't get these types of proposals. They lit up and we basically got like the initial green light. And what was an opportunity where I thought would be, oh, I'm just going to get paid for a concept. It's evolved into this large where I'm actually going to be like not only creative director, but also the owner of this immersive experience that's going to be living for multiple decades on this particular location. Location TBD because we're not like 100%. So it's like, so that's been a slow burn since last July. And um, we just finished a feasibility study, the 6 week sprint that I was doing, where you initially
Mhm.
reached out a few weeks ago, and I was like, please reach out after XYZ date because I can't breathe right now. It was like that, and then the social media. So, so moving forward, my intention is to figure out how to. Obviously, I believe this thing's going to be birthed over the next 3 years, but also I really want to be intentional about like creating community and resources on how to serve people with this information because I'm finding a lot of people are very interested at of these intersections that I'm exploring, and I'm kind of piecing it all together, right? It's like I'm taking my stuff from theme parks and like theater and storytelling through spaces, and then I'm applying like neuroarchitecture or neuro informed stuff on top of it, and like people are really resonating, and then there's like a sprinkle of like spirituality. So I'm sitting with a very large plate in front of me, and I'm incredibly grateful because, like I said, the last 4 years have been very medicinal, chaotic, and financially, like, it's been very medicinal, let's say, the last 4 years. So yeah, so I'm actively trying to figure out the next steps. I know eventually after this thing is built over the next 3 years, I really want to put intention towards like a school, like an experimental school. Like I think it'd be so cool if we did like retreats and we're traveling to like wellness spaces and we're like studying architecture, or maybe we're even like traveling to like sacred sites and we're studying the architecture there. And I just see a larger vision for an experimental creative school. Just the timing has not been clearly revealed, and if there's anything that I know from like the last 4 years, it's just like, if it's not clear, it's just not time yet. So I sit with it every day. I journal it out. So I don't have a definitive answer.
I see it. And what I see the most is what you just said. If it's not clear, it's not a time. So right now, if you don't have a definitive answer, it's not the time to give it. You know, it'll just come and we'll see everything that you'll be working on soon. I know that. And I know that because I feel that you have so much to offer. I don't know. I feel it because you have this perspective that you, as you just mentioned, that actually brings a lot of things together that a lot of people have been questioning about, but they have not been through this whole journey that you've been through. And then also putting it out there. You know, it takes courage at the very least.
Yeah.
So, yes, you have about right now almost together with TikTok and Instagram. I think I mentioned it before. Almost 100K followers, and this is huge. You
That's in
know,
three
it's powerful.
months. And like,
Yes.
and honestly, like on Instagram, it's like I'm so grateful and I'm trying to figure out like why. I think the work is speaking louder than my intelligent like I can't comprehend it because like I haven't put out new content and there's consistently new followers and it's consistently growing. I'm like, there's something here that you just can't ignore it. So that's why I'm actively sitting with it now. I know there's something here. I can feel it. And other people
Yes.
feel it too, which I find so fascinating.
From all this experience and everything that you've seen here and all the things that you've been putting out there, I think that there's some background that you've taken from your experiences, from your previous experiences, which were like the ones that actually gave you like the push, the nudge to look this way,
Mm,
which are designing rides and parades and all the things for the major theme parks, right?
yeah.
So, what did that chapter actually teach you about maybe immersion, emotion, how people perceive stories through design or through spaces and environments?
You know what? I think the biggest thing that that period gave me was confidence. And not to sound arrogant, like I didn't know everything going into it, but like I said, going into my educational chapter, I came in very masculine, very aggressive. Like I took school very seriously. I treated it as my career. So I was like always the one going above and beyond and like trying to take projects as far as I could. I just like, I don't know, I've always been someone who like, who's always seen the larger picture. And I've always pushed myself to like, how can create the whole experience. And I like deep dove, like I really admire, like, this sounds so cliche, but like Walt Disney and like how he just birthed the whole area of experience and entertainment. And so I've always and I took study very seriously, especially the school right before I got into the industry, my like theater school, and I took those classes. Like I did a lot of extra study outside of what I was learning. But I think like being in the industry gave me the confidence to actually see what are the back ends of like how does a ride actually come to life, like look, being able to not only see but like actually work on and create these 2D packages, these 3D models, working on animations, like being able to talk to art directors, being able to see like concept art, and like just being able, I think, to have that experience of like, oh, this is the team, and these are the steps to make it come to life.
It's amazing, but I want to know, I want to go deeper. Like what is it like to design rights? Like what is your approach to actually design it?
Yeah, so it is a team sport. There are many, many people involved, and rides take anywhere from like 5 to 10 years to be developed, from concept to documentation to 3D modeling to build out. Um, so yeah, I mean, generally, like everything, and this is why I think it flows so easily. And this is like kind of a part of my process. Everything starts with a script, right? You have a script that sets the story, the theme, the world that we're building for. It gives you characters, it gives you emotions, it gives you like direction, it gives you art direction for lighting choices, design choices, action choices, all that good stuff. So you generally start with like a script, and then that goes off into like a team, and then there's like concept art, there's 3D modeling, there's animations, and then there's 2D packages, drafting, and then it's just an iterative process with a team.
Wow.
So like let's say there's like 10 scenes in a ride, there's like two or three
Mhm.
people per scene that's like actively workshopping, okay, how can the ride vehicle move through this space when they're looking at this, what are the activations, what's the lighting, what's the design, all that good stuff. It's like a very hands-on, a lot of people, a lot of energy towards a 3 minute ride. It's crazy because the throughput is so fast. But obviously the length, they're here for like multiple decades, right? A ride is standing for multiple decades.
Yes, and actually I see that it takes a lot of years of work. And
Yes.
did not imagine that. I mean, I grew up going to Universal and going to every single ride of Universal. And it did not occur to me that there was such a huge team working on it in the background for
Years,
years.
years and years and years. Yeah.
Wow,
And lots
that's
of hands,
impressive.
lots of fingerprints on the lots of different studios. It's internal, external contractors, interns, like part-time people. It's just everything internal.
Wow. And how do you choose a story to be told in that ride? How is that process of like the beginning?
Yeah, so that's like a creative direction. When I was in the theme park world, I was more like show set. So it's like creative direction, art direction, and then that stuff's infiltrated to like the work that we were doing. But generally, it starts with like the theme of the land, right? So, like, for example, let's say Disney. So if you're in like Fantasyland, it has to be
Mhm.
in that theme of that land. And then there's generally like a script or a story that the creative director has proposed to work with a specific IP. And then they develop with their story writers, the script, all that good stuff. And then that's infiltrated, that supports creative direction, and then that supports their choices for like imagery, reference images, concept art, and then that's fed to the 3D modelers and the architects and all that stuff. And then all of it's iterated, right? It's a very like
That's beautiful.
iterative process, super iterative, because there's constant changes, right? Everything's just lines on papers. And that's always my perspective, especially like now working with this big project that I'm launching. I'm just like, these are just lines on papers. Like we can totally erase them, change them. Everything's very fluid
Yeah.
until you break ground.
That's what I was going to ask you. Like, if you're now introducing yourself into another world of design, how can you digress this way of working into it in a way that I can actually impact the senses and the consciousness of people and all this? Because, you just mentioned it's a 3-minute ride,
Mhm.
right? And from working on that and then working on a space at like maybe a home, hospital,
Yeah.
how do you see that?
So how it bleeds, I am just introducing aspects from what I've learned from entertainment into these new worlds. And I'm finding that this new world, more commercial world, education, for this particular client, they have an appetite for that because I don't think they've ever been spoken to from a design team with this perspective. So, like I did a workshop with them. I went through a meditation with them, like a visualization meditation. We really took our time to set the tone, and we did like an emotional blueprinting, and I'm in the process of essentially creating a script for like what is the intention, what are the zones, and then that's going to be directly fed to the architects and then have them make their design decisions. So it's really interesting because I feel like what I offer currently right now is very valuable and important to a design process for like experiences, especially if you want to incorporate more like neuro-informed design, to start with a script. And like I'm not a trained architect, so I don't know what really architects do. I know what they do. I don't know their process, like how my process is more
Yeah.
creative and iterative and more entertainment based. And I'm just bringing what I know from that world, and it's blending really well. And I'm finding it. They're very open to it, and I think there's a lot of opportunity.
It's it's just putting into words or into other words, maybe what I always tell our mentees in the program. You have to create a story behind it. You have to get to know the person. And this is not something that they teach us at school in design or
Mhm.
architecture. And I love the way that you're like merging your story and whatever happened to you in the past and your experience with rights and with generating experiences and getting into the senses and tapping into consciousness and communicating something that is going to give you a sensation and then tap into your behavior, whichever it is. I just love the way you're doing it because you're just bringing your experience into it, into normal spaces now, into spaces that we can actually stay more time, more than 3 minutes,
Yes.
and actually experience them longer. And yes, I love that. Do you see this happening in homes?
I don't know. I haven't been attracted or called to homes yet. Honestly, I've never even saw myself doing commercial work. I've always seen myself in the entertainment space, maybe evolving into wellness. But I'm sure. I mean, the kind of outline process that I'm workshopping, it's like we're just creating a script, and I'm being very intentional with like treating the story of crafting the story of the brand or the person, and I'm treating it like as I would if I was a, let's say, like a art director for like a TV film, like to dress sets. It's like I'm doing a reverse exercise because I was literally trained like right like the whole process when I was studying to like design sets for TV and film. It's like you start with a script, director's the head, and then you based off the script you provide whatever. So I'm kind of reverse engineering it. Like okay, this is your brand, this is your intentions. Let's create a script. Well, that will then um, what's the word? Influence the rest of the design. I'm just having
Wow.
fun. Like I'm like nobody's done it like
This
this.
is.
Okay, cool.
I've seen architects, I've seen designers, interior designers comment in your reels and say things there because of course they're looking for this. They didn't learn about, and some of us went to school looking for this information and thought that it was going to be given, and it wasn't.
Yeah.
So
I get a lot of DMs from like students who are like, I didn't even know this was a thing. Like, how do I study this? And I'm like, I don't know, because this is literally from my experience. I haven't responded to them, but I get a lot of like messages like that of like interior designers or students who are like, how can I study this too? And it's interesting because like, yes, I've picked and pulled from like neuroarchitecture, like a bit of spirituality and biogeometry and all that, but it's like it's really it's really just up to me. Like I really have to figure out how to package my experience so I can share this because how selfish if I didn't figure out how to package and offer this to others because I think people are interested and people want more depth and I think from my perspective, I think people want to figure out how to integrate consciousness, their own spirituality into their design practices and spaces. And I think there's a huge conversation and huge opportunity to figure out how to communicate that, experiment in that space, and then serve people who aren't designers, like the people who we serve, right? Whether it's
yeah,
entertainment, brands, commercial, homes.
actually that's the reason why we created the program, and that's the reason why I was like, I have to teach this, I have to take it out there. I've seen you talk about nonverbal communication through spaces. What do you mean by this?
So there are many ways to do this. Again, I think it just the power of intentional design, like how lighting can literally communicate do or do not go this way. Signage, obviously. I've always been fascinated, even like when I was studying theater, like how can we do this without speaking words? Like how can we do this with like not as even without actors? Like how can we tell this story through environment? Do you guys have you ever been to an IKEA store?
Yeah, of course.
Okay. So I think they do a good job. Like that's an example, a general example. Like they are literally telling you to follow this yellow road, even though there's like a whole psychology that like it's intentionally like designed to create a bit of chaos in your mind, the way it's designed. But it's like they literally tell you which direction to go in through paint and color and lighting. And then, it's
Hmm.
just that's what I mean. Obviously, there's a depth of like the energetics of a space and the consciousness of your environment and objects and there's a whole situation at play there and the land and I really would love I don't know when but I feel there's an even deeper octave to be explored through this of like igniting a deeper aspect of my intuition into working with like energies of the land and objects and yeah paint like it's just there's because everything's vibrating around us and there's a consciousness in the paint and it like the music that we listen to is reflected bounced reflected into the paint and then that's a constant conversation.
I was going to ask you, like, how do spaces actually carry memory and or vibration for you, like in your from your perspective? Because just saying not verbal communication, of course, we have many things in design that we can use, right? Visual things, but actually, like memory, vibrations, things like energy itself. That's what I was looking for from your perspective, more than guiding with the eye.
Yeah, I mean sure
With
there's a
eye.
bunch of tricks that we can do but yeah I'm definitely interested and I haven't allowed myself to dive too deep into that yet. Yeah, I think there's a whole other world of like energetics and consciousness and memory of spaces and objects and land. I'm really attracted to like energies of land, but also I don't think I'm energetically ready to open up fully just yet.
Just maybe look into extended cognition.
Hmm.
Have you looked into that?
No.
It's like your cognition extending through everything that you just have access to with your body, with your system.
I love that. I didn't know that was a
Look it
thing.
up.
It's in my
Yeah.
notes.
If I were to ask you, what do you believe happens to the nervous system when someone enters a space that is aligned with their energy on the same tone of what we were just talking about, the energies of a space and the memories and consciousness? What happens to, from your perspective, to this person? And also maybe misaligned, aligned and misaligned with them.
Yeah. For the aligned, I just got like this huge rush of like relief. Like it just like a, or even it could be like a form of like orgasmic, euphoric type of like internal, like just like a, this feels good, not necessarily knowing how to put words to it, but just like a, I'm thinking of relief, like a release, euphoric, orgasmic, like not as extreme as orgasmic, but it, like a yes type of situation, like at peace, like the, it's interesting to put words to energies, like, but like it's like a this motion. It's like, yes, you are welcome. Yes, this is safe. Yes, there's no need to like tense up. Like I imagine like there's no tense in the body and it's just like okay, good, safe, good to walk through. And obviously opposite, complete contrast for a disoriented space. Just the opposite, like contraction.
Tense,
Yeah,
maybe. Yeah, contraction.
some experiences are kind of designed like Halloween experiences. I do not resonate with that like at all because it's I'm just like too aware. Not I'm not putting myself above anybody, but it's just like I don't want to put, but some people actually really want to have that experience of being scared out of their body. Like it's successful for a reason, but I cannot put my energy towards that because it's literally you're shocking people's nervous systems intentionally. And I'm like, I just cannot.
But are we doing that with roller coasters as well?
Kind of. I've actually never designed a roller coaster. So there's like a whole language in like theme parks. So they're called like A through E attractions. A is like low level.
Baby
Yes.
turning cups. Okay.
Yeah. And then like e-ticket is like very fast moving, going. And then there's like your roller coasters, like high intensity type of attractions. And it just doesn't resonate like anymore. Like, you know, it's again from that like form of escapism. I think there's a time and place for that. And to wanting to be more intentional. Like, and karmically, like, why would I put my energy into something that is creating chaos in someone else's body? It just seems so like I just can't anymore, you know, especially karmically, because I don't want that put onto me. I would love to clear up whatever I have left. So yeah.
Okay, let's continue with this energy topic because knowing that you're into the, energy world as well into the design and all these things that actually converge, but not everyone touches them together. What personal rituals or practices help you as a person regulate your energy while creating or holding space for others?
Really beautiful question. Yeah, so I have a daily routine. My mornings are very sacred. I am very, what's the word? Yeah, my mornings are just very sacred. So I wake up and like do my morning things. And I practice Kundalini. So there's like a lot of body movement, a lot of breath work that I do to drop into the body and just like process and introduce a lot more oxygen into the body after sleep, a lot of spine movement. And then I'll do like minimum 10 to 12 minutes of like vision casting. It's not a meditation, but it's like where you're in the future and you're like feeling it, the end experience in your body already. Yeah. And then before I go into a practice, I'm not perfect with this aspect, but before I go into practice, I try to like sit like 3 to 5 minutes of like, okay, what would like to come through today to serve whatever type of creative project. Yeah. And that's kind of evolving. Like I've been experimental with like playing with the energies of creativity and intentionally inviting them in before I sit down for a creative sesh, like the energy of XYZ project, allowing me to be a vessel without any ego and to just allow it come through. But I haven't been as like strenuous with that. But like the exercise, breath work, movement, that's every morning.
space, installation, anything that you have always wanted to create but have not yet found the way to do it?
Yes. Okay, so during the huge session, 2021 session, Creative Vortex came through, and this also like blueprint of a whole business plan came through. I do not have the energy to put this forth. Maybe after 2027, TBD, depending. But essentially, it's like this wellness communal retreat houses that are built with materials from that actual location and filled with merchandise and decor from actual people from that community. And then people get to shop those houses when they stay at these retreat houses. I think that's like, I feel I'm too young to say like, this is my swan song, but I feel that that brand that came through, and I can see it when I can zoom back out, like the work that I'm laying down right now with like neuro-informed experience design, it'll all come into play when the timing's right, I think. But yeah, it's super. That was like honestly my first large download where it was like no ego. It was just like me, inspiration, me, God, inspiration, and paper. And it was just like, whew. And that was like one of the funnest projects during that time of chaos that just came through. And like there's branding that came through and like give back like formats, and like it's something that could be replicatable like all around the world, and you get to experience places that you travel to in a really intimate, unique way that isn't offered right now. So yeah, we'll hold space for that. Those houses.
It's coming.
Thank you.
It's coming. This has been a beautiful conversation, Ariel. I've loved talking to you.
Me too. Thank
very
you so much.
There's one last question that I always ask everyone here.
Okay.
Which is, if you could broadcast one actionable message to the world, just one, what would it be?
There is no limit to your potential. And you can do anything. Even like, yeah, I don't want to dilute it, but like there truly, like there's no limit to your potential.
I totally agree.
Yeah. Especially like when you studied like quantum physics and like you start integrating that into like the power of the mind. And it's like, now there are these like studies that like are saying that reality is just like a projection of like all that stuff. I don't want to get into that, but it's just like, wow, we really are our own limits. So yeah, you can do whatever you want.
Yeah. I totally agree. And I am getting into quantum physics as well, and quantum mechanics and quantum everything. And it's a very deep world for us, like the common human being that have no idea about this.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah. It's very dense, but it's also like very liberating when you understand that it's related to you. And when you can like put the ego away and like stop like fighting it and just like, oh, yeah. Okay, everything's energy, everything's vibrating, everything's a possibility. And then it's like, oh, this is an interesting dance. How do I dance this dance type of thing?
Yeah. Yes, I agree. Thank you so much for this, for everything. And the doors are always open.
Thank you. And thank you so much. Yeah, I truly thank you for the space. You hold beautiful space and beautiful questions. And I'm glad I was able to connect and share with your community, connect with your community virtually.
Yes. Yes. We're all here. Thanks.